So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 91 and we continue with our exercise. So, we already created here many functions, but in this video I want to create one more function with a return type, and I decided that I create a function which will give a Boolean return type, and this function will compare if the two players have the same point. So let's create this function, but this time as a return type function. So, and I already said it should have a return type of a Boolean. So let's get started. First of all, we start again with the definition, function definition. I write here bool, this is my return type, and then I give the name, for example, compare player compare player point for equality, something like that, equality, and that's it. And we can take here parameters, because we can just take this one. We have not this to use parameters here because we have access here to the global variables. So if we don't have to, let's don't use it. We just take it from here, or we just take it. We write with parameters. Why not? We have to learn these parameters as well. Let's use the parameters. So I use this parameter, which is this one and this one. So I have to create two things again, int points to compare, for player 1 points to compare, and here I write int player 2 points to compare. All right, we have this one, and till this point we have a declaration. I copy this one because I will need this one. I put it here on top to my forward declaration section and paste it here and semicolon, and now I have this one in the section of my forward declarations. That's perfect. And of course I will have to continue here and finish the function definition. Let's go continue, and let's write here just the curly brackets, of course the return value, and this one we have to find it. First of all, how we compare this, very easy. We take this one and this one and check if they are equal with a if statement. Okay, then we write if, and then here in the condition blocks, player, this is this first one here, player 1 points compare is equal, and only if it's equal I want to do something with player 2 points compare, which is this one, and if they are equal I want just return true. So if they are equal, return, let's take this return here out and write it here, return true. And if they are not equal, else, let's write return false. All right. So, and that was it already for this compare function actually, because this function is just returning true or false. And with that said, we go to use this function now, of course, and where we have to use that. That's also a very important point. Then we go here to my riddle game, not my riddle game actually, in my int main, this is there where the program is, and I want compare it after this riddle here, and so on. Of course, after this one, after the you can point it here between this point after the riddles, after all the riddles are finished, and now you are going for the results, but you can also point it here down, so that's not so important. And of course we have to call it. Call it means we have just to take this one, copy this one and use this one here. And let's call this one, and of course get rid of this int, because here we have to use, and here we have another problem. Here you can see this player 1 points to compare and player 1 points to what it says here is undefined, and that's not really true. We have a forward declaration. It's not really undefined by why it is here complaining, even if this one is. Yes, the problem is here, like I said before, this one is a call, and the call step needs variables which are used to call, and these are arguments. Arguments are not the same as the parameters. I mean, later they are the same, but this is the call step, right? Think all it, this one must be now this one and this one, which means if you use the call set, it must just a variable which has the information. In our case, this one here, points for player number 1. Okay, points for player number 1, and the other one here, points for player number 2. Points, oh yeah, I write this one, so points for player number 2. And now the call step is also working because these variables are here on top. And like all the time, if you want to search them, right click. And then here you can use find all references or just find definition, and here you have it. And declaration on variables are the same almost. And then we have now called it, but this one gives just us a return value. And here one more thing, we can write here a comment, but the comment should not explain here this code. It should explain more why I'm doing this this comparison for what. So, and I write it gets also get a bool, returns a bool for later use. Returns a bool for later use, compare player points for instance. So I think this one, it's already very descriptive if I say compare players points for equality, but still you can write here additional information if you think it's necessary. And let's continue. So now I have done this one. Now I have created a function with a return type, but of course important is when you create a function with a return type, it makes no sense if you don't use this value which is returned. So we have to use now this value, because when we compare it with the other functions, they are functions without the return type, which means they are just executing the code and they have done their jobs. In this case it's not the case, because I mean with the return values, they are not finished. We have to use this return values if they are needed. And in our case, in my case here, I will use it, of course, and I say, okay, if they are equal, to make it easy, I can write here one more message. For example, the players have equal. So for example, an output, message, draw, for example, the player 1 and the player 2 has the same point, so it's a draw. Or you can go further and invite an additional riddle till they, for example, till one of them go ahead and win the match. But I think we are not doing this one here. I think I wanted to only show this return value function here. I did, and let's make a use case of this value. So I go here on top and I just write one more function, again a function where it says if they are equal, then just put out it's a draw. I can write it directly here because it's not a big deal. For example, I can just write if, and then we have created this function here. And if I write it here and we save this one, actually, have we saved this already in a variable? No, we have just called it. This was a code, and this code did nothing actually. So that's the problem here. This was just a call which I did here, which did absolute nothing, only returns a value. So I have not saved it to a variable. I can save it to a variable, but I can write here directly an if statement and use this function call in an if statement. And I think we are going to do this one in this case. So what I mean with that is I write if the whole function call in an if statement, and now I put out the result. So if this one is true, then put out std cout something both players have the same points. It's a draw. So of course it's a draw. Of course you can go here, like I said before, and make other options so that they can continue the game till one wins. But in this case, I think I keep this one. That's cool. And when we start this one, and let's test this one. So I created this function. Of course, we have all time test our code blocks before we go on. Let's see. Coder, Superman. Let's make a draw. I call here 9, 9, bad, bad. And we see both players have the same points. It's a draw. It is indeed printed out, so it's working. And the draw we can see. And you can see here also we have here so many creativity possibilities to change, to extend, to make things. There is actually infinite with possibilities what we can do here, but of course I want to just show you all these keywords and new things what we learned. And I think I stop here and continue in the next video with another thing what I want to show you, how you can extend this code a little bit more. And yeah, if you have any questions or any complaints, write it in the comments. And I hope you have made something better than me, because like I all time say, practice, practice, practice is better than just learning and understanding these keywords, because learning, understanding these keywords, yes, it's easy actually compared to really be able to use that in a code. And the only way you really can do is just write codes. Make projects, write your own, and important is your own ideas. Don't care about the mistakes, don't care what others says, just write your own code. This is the only way you get really good, and later you will be very good. So with that said, bye and good luck.